another murder scene. Player hating niggas trading, wanna be in my damn shoes. Damn, what you trying to prove? Busters equals down.
Yeah, ho. That's right. Welcome to the motherfucking stream. What the fuck is up? I would never snitch on a dope man's bitch. No, I would never snitch. I would never snitch on a dope man's bitch.
Nigga like me just ain't with it.
Ain't with it.
Pussy ain't shit when
You constantly get it.
They must think it's dope dealers don't understand.
Yeah.
Always try to fuck,
But I always keep a bird in hand.
Nigga like me just ain't with it.
Ain't with it.
Pussy ain't shit when
If you constantly get
They
it.
must think it's dope dealers don't understand.
Understand.
Always try to fuck,
But I always keep a bird in hand.
And that's a fact that I do stress. So bitches and niggas, I hope that you learn the lesson. Just cause you're fucking me, it still don't mean shit. Cause you ain't nothing
But a dope man's bitch.
Put that bitch on the knees, and then when you try to leave, the bitch will be begging.
All right. Welcome to the motherfucking News Underground. You know what we're about. Keeping it motherfucking real. So, you know, this is the COVID stream. We're going COVID crazy here. I got a lot of shit I've been wanting to talk about. Here we go. COVID backlash. People are ready to end the mandates. Curry 12, welcome back. True OG. True OG in the house. Welcome back, Curry. I'm sure you can't stay long like normal. Good to see you. It's good to see you. Yeah, ho. So no one, you know, we're all done with COVID, huh? Says Barry Weiss. Says Bill Maher. And now I guess says fucking Sagar over here. You know, I have a lot of respect for Sagar. I do. I have a lot of respect for Sagar, but I gotta say, he's being a little bit of a bitch in this. He really is. He's being a little bit of a bitch. You know, he's criticizing people for, you know, pearl clutching about kids. And then like a minute later, he's pearl clutching about kids. So I haven't watched all these videos completely. I wanted you to see my reaction in real time. Let me know if the mic is too low. But yeah, we're gonna jump in these. By the way, these are two LA. We were watching two LA gang members who were fighting for Assad. Apparently, the story was they were deported. They lost their citizenship. You know, they were raised in LA. And they lost their citizenship, so they were back out.
Hey, we still right here, homie. Fucking morning.
Listen to these dudes.
We got the Enemigas right there, homie.
Amigas.
I represent myself, homie. It's Creeper, homie, from the G's Up 13 gang, homie. Son Valley gang, homie. Fucking Weiner from Westside Armenian Power gang, homie. Still Puro Sureños putting it down,
here,
homie. And Middle East, homie, in Syria, still gang banging, not giving a fuck, homie.
So
Yeah,
these
homie,
like
check this shit
legitimate,
out, the Puro Sur 13, homie.
legitimate
Still
LA
gang-banging this shit, homie.
gangbangers.
Get the G-Dub, homie. Come, homie. Check out the Enemigas right there, homie. They're all right there, dog.
Enemigas, yo.
We don't give a fuck, homie.
I gotta
You know,
say,
homie,
they're
and shout out, homie, Capone, Mr. Criminal from Silver Lake, homie.
Mr.
Capone
Criminal.
from Cyclone, and Crazy Loco from Pasadena, and Pink Lady. We
Pink
still
Lady.
got love for your girl. We still got love for all your homies, all the
All
Sureños,
dudes, all
homie.
you vatos.
Look
Let's
at
put this
this.
shit down to all these motherfuckers, homie.
Look at this shit. I don't know about that technique. Look at him over here, Jesus Christ.
Sureños, homie, not giving a fuck. Post this shit up, homie. Tell the homies in fucking Middle East, homie, still gang banging, homie. Putting that shit down for the big Sur 13 gang, homie.
Syria, homie. We're in Syria, homie.
Still G-Dub Gumpiwanos 13 gang, homie.
So you gotta give him credit. They're holding it down, dude. Holding it fucking down and keeping it real. So, you know, I'm not pro Assad by any means. But you do got to respect people that, you know, that stay true to their personality, stay true to who they are. And they're on the front line. So you got to give them props. You know, they're just doing their thing out there. Like to give big props to DJ Ripper Main, Evil Hood. All right. Have a good one, Curry. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. All right, so just wanted to show this picture real quick before we get into the Saagar shit. You know, the from the convoy. People out in Ottawa getting pissed. People out in Ottawa getting so pissed. Here's my position. I mean, here's my position on the whole situation. I don't like these mandates. I don't like having to tell people to, you know, that get vaccinated and all that shit. You know, I don't like telling people they got to wear a mask and all that shit. My main concern is, you know, we're going to end all these mandates. We're going to end all these rules. And the shit's just going to come right back. You know, like it's working. Like that's why we're starting to see the mandates go down, which is, you know, I guess that's how it's supposed to be working. But my main concern is that shit's going to come back. And my other criticism here with Saagar is his hypocrisy. And his callousness, you know, and he's taking it personally, you know, he's taking this shit personally, and he's so it's hurting his soul, you know what I mean? Like this little guy is just getting all fumed up and taking it personally that he's got to wear a mask to go get a cup of coffee. The other thing that's really pissing me off is that all of a sudden now he agrees with Barry Weiss. I don't know if you saw the clip with Barry Weiss and Bill Maher being incredibly smug, saying, "Oh, it's over," saying, "Oh, COVID's over." I think that's bullshit, you know. But no, oh no, because now she's saying shit Saagar agrees with. He doesn't bring up the smugness at all. Lame, but. In an effort to be fair, we're gonna watch both these videos. But you know, I do think Saagar's being incredibly smug, and I also think he's being kind of a bad actor here. You know, there's certain things that he's not bringing up that would, you know, fight against his narrative, and he's conveniently avoiding those things. So let's watch this. Tell me what you think.
Let's talk about The View, my favorite block, the E block, the media block. So we can't play what exactly happened on Bill Maher's show because HBO is very litigious whenever it comes to copyright and all of that. So I'll try and describe it to you. Barry Weiss
doesn't mention the smugness at all. I did watch this one. Doesn't mention the smugness at all, which is kind of fucked up.
Appeared on Real Time with Bill Maher, in which she had a clip which went viral. Now, personally, I didn't think it was all that special. I mean, credit to her, but she's basically been saying what we've been saying here for a long time, what a lot of people have been saying.
We? I don't know if Crystal totally agrees with you, homie.
She said, quote, I'm done with COVID. She talked about how she was wiping down her groceries. She watched.
Well, that's really easy for a rich person who can afford health care to say, I'm done with COVID. Who's vaccinated, by the way? Really easy and convenient for someone like in that position to say that, Saagar.
Tiger King, she said that the vaccines were obviously given as the off-ramp in order for stop government-induced safeguards. You get the vaccine, you don't get back to normal. Now it's been 2 years, we don't get back to go. You find out cloth masks don't work. You realize you can show your vaccine passport at a restaurant.
Okay. What's he referencing here? Cloth masks don't work? That's not true. The CDC has finally come out and admitted that cloth masks don't work as well. Don't work as well as you know, as the medical masks. Right? Not that they don't work. And that's and he's intentionally getting that wrong. So that's a fail. Could that be considered a lie? He's a pretty smart guy. Pretty sure he knows that he's you know, getting that confused. Okay, because they didn't say they don't work. They say they're less effective than medical masks. So that's a fib.
Still be asymptomatic and be carrying Omicron. You realize, most importantly, this is going to be remembered by the younger generation as a catastrophic moral crime. I agree.
Yeah, okay, so we're not pearl clutching about kids though, right?
With all of that, congratulations, Barry, and I guess for getting it out into a mainstream audience. Well, the mainstream is freaking out at this light suggestion that they are actually the crazy.
Yeah, hey, Lee, thank you for coming back, man. I've been hoping you've been coming back for a while. I owe you an apology, dude. I went back and watched some of my footage on a couple streams back, and you know, when I was talking about The View, funny, this is kind of, you know, relevant here. I was talking about The View and Tom Hartman and, like, you know, would you prefer, you know, Tom Hartman over The View, Tom Hartman over, you know, Rachel Maddow, and you said yes, yes, and yes. For some reason, I interpreted that as no, no, and no. You know, I was probably on a roll. I wasn't thinking. So, and I said, let's not be silly here. So I totally owe you an apology, my man. Thank you for coming back. I've been wanting to give you this apology for the last couple streams I've been doing. So, you know, please accept my apology for getting your words mixed up. And you know, I'm a big critic of Tom Hartman, like I said, you know, with his bullshit with Elizabeth Warren. You know, when it comes down to it, well, it, you know, it hurt my feelings, you know, because it's like, no, man, look, if you had a choice, you know, between Tom Hartman and Rachel Maddow, obviously, right, Tom Hartman, right? But it's like, yeah, but Tom Hartman's not free of criticism. But anyway, just wanted to get that apology out to you, man. I'm sorry about misunderstanding you there. That wasn't cool. But anyway, you know, let's get back to Saagar conveniently ignoring certain things, but let's also observe Crystal Ball's face. Thank you, Lee. I appreciate OG motherfucking Lee. Keeping it so real. Keeping it so real. Welcome back. This is the COVID episode. You know, people are talking about getting rid of these mandates. Things are starting to work. So, like, is now the right time to be doing this? And like, I don't, you know, as I was saying before, I don't want to tell people they got to wear masks and do all this shit, you know, and I don't want to give children vaccines that they don't need. But you know, my worry is that we're going to be lifting all this shit. And then, you know, there's already the COVID B2 or Omicron B2, which is the second variant of Omicron that was announced. So the variants are still coming. This thing is still mutating. Is it really wise, you know, to lift these restrictions? You got governments coming out and saying, we're never going to get to COVID zero. Give up on the idea of COVID zero. But then you have the WHO, you know, the you know, virus authority saying, you know, we should absolutely still be striving for COVID zero. And, you know, and this segment here, these couple segments here with Saagar are really quite annoying. So, you know, we're already a minute in and he's already fibbing, you know, straight up saying the CDC said cloth masks don't work. That's not true. They said the CDC said cloth masks don't work as well as the medical masks, which is something that's been known for a long time, but they made it official finally after 2 years. So I'm not here to defend the CDC. I'm not here to defend Fauci. I honestly do believe they're terrible communicators. They've done a horrific job at communicating, you know, constantly, you know, because they make definitive statements. They make these definitive statements when the you know, the science is evolving. They don't hedge. Anyway, they speak in technocratic complexities. Anyway, I'm getting a lot of disingenuous shit from Sagar here, and I gotta say, I love the mean mugging coming from Crystal over here. But let's get into it. In the effort to be fair with my reporting on COVID, I just want to cover both sides because Sagar, I mean, come on, man, this guy is taking it fucking personally. He's getting his little feathers ruffled over wearing a mask to go get his Starbucks. You know what I mean? And he has the audacity to say, you know, can you believe these people are pearl clutching about kids, and then literally starts fear mongering with children, talking about how, oh, you know, the remote learning, remote learning is more detrimental to their mental health. So, you know, it's okay to risk COVID infections in children so that they can hang out with each other and socialize, because the lack of socialization is more damaging than catching COVID. That's basically his argument, because, you know, you're less likely to get COVID if you're a young person. Anyway, let's get back to it.
Crazy ones. First, she was attacked by The View in just an incredible clip where they basically suggest we'll be wearing masks forever, just like we have terrible TSA theater.
And I don't fucking believe The View either. I'm not here to defend The View. And I do agree that a lot of the security features that the TSA makes you go through is theater. That's just a fact.
Let's take a listen.
You know, listen, nobody on the planet really wants to go through this. This is not something we're doing because it's, you know, sexually gratifying. This is what we're doing to protect our families. And you don't have to do it, but stay away from everybody. Because if you're the one who's not paying attention and you're coughing and sneezing, you don't want to, then stay out of the public, man. This is not, nobody wants this. I don't want it. And I think he's forgetting that people are still at risk who cannot get vaccinated. People who can't get that. Little kids under the age of 5.
Yeah.
Or people with health conditions. How dare you be so flippant, man?
Well,
There's
they act
still
like
people
they're over it, like,
Yeah.
like a relationship. I'm
Yeah.
over it. I don't feel like
I don't
seeing
think
him
we're
anymore.
to the post-mask part, because I think there's a prudence we've learned with the mask, the hand sanitizing, that kind of like 9/11 with flying is always going to be here now. There's a new normal.
Oh, it's a new normal. No, it's not. You can live that way if you want. The rest.
And look at Crystal, yo. Look at fucking Crystal. And to your comment there, Lee, that, you know, this is how they get paid. I mean, out of all the disingenuous fascistic right wingers, and I don't think Sagar is a fascist, but out of all the conservative people that exist, Sagar is the one who at the very least tries to base his conclusions off of data. But even then, he's doing some ass pulls here.
Rest of us are not going to, and the vast majority of people don't want to be as miserable as these people are. I don't know how many times we have to do this. This cudgel that they try and use with kids is outrageous. COVID is not a threat to the vast majority of children in this country. The flu is actually much worse for them.
Okay, so now okay, we're gonna compare COVID with the flu because you can get the long flu, right, where you lose your sense of smell, where you have respiratory issues for months afterwards. I know some people, it doesn't happen to some people, but no, Sagar, who I don't think has children, is totally willing to risk your kids potentially getting long COVID, right? And we're going to use this disingenuous comparison between the flu and COVID. I don't know, homie. Seems a little dishonest.
And even for the general population, this is a simple fact. Vaccines turned COVID into the flu. We should celebrate that.
Yeah.
Vaccines turned COVID into the flu, huh? Really? Really? Someday he'll look back at this behavior and regret that he acted this way. Money isn't everything. I don't know. I think he maybe wants a job on Joe Rogan's show or some shit, man. I mean, this guy, the knee-jerk reaction he's got with Joe Rogan is some bullshit, right? You know, criticizing Neil Young. You know, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, Lee. Crosby, Stills, and Nash just announced that they want all their shit off of fucking Spotify. I'm a treetop flyer. You know that song? That's my favorite jam. I don't think that was Crosby, Stills, and Nash. I think it was just one of them. But man, I love that Treetop Flyers song, dude. That song is amazing. Anyway, let's get back to it.
We have created a gigantic scientific miracle. We have vaccinated and now have natural immunity in a huge portion of the U.S. population,
not enough,
adult
though.
population, which was
Not enough. We're not even at 90% like in Canada. So why are, yeah, Neil Young, solid dude, no doubt about it. But we're not to herd immunity. We're not even close. We're not even close, dude.
at risk. Those who are at risk, age 65 and older, go get a booster. Data has come out that shows that their hospitalization rate is the same for 25-year-olds or whatever whenever you get your booster shot. Great. Go ahead. The rest of us, we don't have to live like in complete misery. And it's just amazing to me.
Complete misery, huh? So putting on a mask to go do a thing somewhere? Are you just totally miserable, Sagar? Your glasses getting fogged up? Does that bother you? No, I don't think so. Rogan is bringing in more money than Neil Young and Crosby, Stills and Nash, combined throughout their entire career. I mean, that's just how big Rogan is, man. He's got a lot of meatheads tuning in, and he's got a lot of pseudo lefties here fooled.
That something as anodyne as Barry's message is being attacked.
Anodyne. She was a smug fucking B word, right along with fucking Bill Maher. And when her and Maher are smug against something that you disagree with, you would like to point that out. But now that she's saying shit you agree with, it's anodyne. Oh, it's harmless. Pretty selective.
She's pro-vaccine. It's not enough for these folks.
So I don't have any issue with what this lady, I think her name is Sarah.
Yes.
Something.
Yeah, who are
what she has.
I mean, he's not a fake leftist. He's just kind of like a traditional liberal, basically. That's the thing about breaking points. They're not fake. They're not as disingenuous as a lot of these other places can be. Criticism is fair, though.
To say,
yeah,
she indicates that for her personally, she plans on always wearing masks and
go
stuff.
for it.
Fine.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that.
No, I
I'm
have
not gonna be
zero-
mad at
I have
people.
zero issue.
I mean, people can be kind of gross, and we have a lot of germs.
I have zero issue with masks, except I take it personally. But a person who is rooted in real social justice, these kind of people never trip me up. That's the thing, is that, and you'll see a little bit later in this clip, man, there's a complete lack of empathy.
If you want to wear a mask around, like, fine. I have no issue with that.
Yeah.
I do have an issue with the weaponization, as you said, of kids. Listen, we all, in the normal range of American life, care about kids. We care about our kids. We care about other people's kids. We care about doing whatever we can to keep people's kids safe.
You're actually going to see a perfect example of how a good majority of Americans don't give a shit about other people's kids. And we're going to see that attitude right here from Sagar, who's putting on a good show.
At this point, we have data that shows that the interventions with kids specifically that we took were much more damaging to them on.
Okay, so we're going to reference that data, right? We're going to say where our sources are, and we're going to post them. We're going to post our sources in our description. Oh, whoops, nope. Not a single fucking source in this description. Where are you getting this data that we're so certain on? Can we please reference that? Because I was hoping to look it up, but nope. We got these links. Hey, Lee, thank you for coming in. Motherfucking OG Lee. You sleep tight, man. Thank you for accepting my apology. Sometimes when I get on a roll, it's hard for me to keep up. So I appreciate you coming back. Thank you, man. Have yourself a good night. So yeah, where are these sources at? We have the data, the hardcore, solidified, totally solid data. Where's that? This is a pretty hot topic. Haha, Lee, you're a hell of a guy. I love you too, bro. Thank you so much. Got that brotherly love, right? That see you on the other side kind of love. I get you. Speaking of see you on the other side, you can expect to see me doing some protests here coming soon. I'm going to be doing a couple streams on how to make a protest sign, how to get out there. So we'll be doing that soon. But yeah, where are these sources at? So we're 100%, the data's certain, right? Right, Crystal?
At this point, we have data that
We're going to reference it though, except we're not. That's a kind of a big oversight.
shows that the interventions with kids specifically that we took were much more damaging to them on balance than the virus was. That's not
Okay, and she's saying that as a person who has kids and has gotten them vaccinated. Okay, everyone in the comments, all these anti-vaxxers in the comments are saying, you know, Crystal, you know, has her kids vaccinated. She's going to get quadruple vaxxed and all this, you know, hyperbolic nonsense. So she's saying that as a person who got her own kids vaccinated.
not to erase the several hundred kids who perished from this disease, and there's no making up for that. But we weigh costs and benefit and risks in our lives all the time. And again, when you look at school shutdowns, when you look at what the American Academy of Pediatrics said was a national crisis.
Okay, there's a source. There's a source.
For young people in this country in terms of their mental health. When you look at addiction, when you look at depression, when you look at learning loss, when you look at the delayed IQs that we've seen, all
right, and that is true. That is true. There is some hard data to show that these kids are not learning as much. They're not getting, they're not getting that quality American education, which really says a lot because American education is fucking trash. So, they're not even getting trash education. They're getting, 50% education there. So, that's real.
These things paint a very compelling picture that there was greater harm to kids from closing schools and even from, the masks. There's not great evidence that masks helped to stop the spread in schools. There's not even good evidence that closing the schools helped to stop the spread of the virus at all. Okay? So
that's all coming from the American Pediatric Society, huh? All right. Okay, I really would have preferred a link. Guys. And maybe a couple title cards to source some of this information. I know you got to whip it out in a day. Trust me, I know how difficult it is to produce a show every single fucking day. All right, look, data is data, okay? And I'm a scientific kind of guy. I like data. So, all right.
This very easy and cheap talking point of, I guess you just don't care about the kids, is really just unfair and untrue. One thing I do want to say about Barry's comments that the younger generations will look at this as a moral crime. I'm not sure that's true, and here's why. Because there was just polling out in New York Times this morning showing that even though younger people are, by the data, much less at risk for COVID.
Well, thank you for that correction there, Mammoth. They're doing stuff. It's not like they're taking a break in between that time. With all that said, this is a hot topic. You're going to be referencing this data. I would like to see it on the screen. I got high expectations, I guess. At the very least, put a goddamn link in your description, yo. Okay, you said the American Society of Pediatrics is saying, we're fucking up our kids by keeping them home. And I think they reported on it, which is why probably they're not. But at the same time, it's a hot ass topic, man. I want to see some proof on this shit. And okay, and they're saying, "Oh, it's so disgusting. You're using kids. You're using kids as an excuse." Watch what Sagar does later in this clip.
COVID. They're actually much more in favor of coronavirus restrictions than older people, all because they tend to be on the left of the spectrum versus older people tend to be on the right of the spectrum.
Welcome, by the way, Mammoth Waffle. Cool name.
They also, in their personal lives, are more afraid of COVID than people who are older, which is, again, doesn't fit with the science. It only makes sense when you look at the fact that, there's a partisan skew in terms of how people ultimately feel about the virus. So you have, on the one hand, folks who are on the right side of the spectrum who tend to underestimate their risk of disease and how severe it could be, especially if they remain unvaccinated. And then you also have people who are overestimating how vulnerable they are. That's ultimately leading to, to a lot of fear in their personal lives.
Yeah, and I'm not disagreeing with that. Mainstream media, you got really cocky sons of bitches saying, we need to mandate. You literally don't have a choice. I feel like Anderson Cooper, I think, came out a couple, months ago and was like, I can't live my life normally. Let's just force everyone to get the vaccine. That's obviously not the solution. And of course, you got the people on the right who are like, the vaccine isn't a cure. The vaccine isn't a cure. I got a great meme for that one. Check out this one out. If it doesn't prevent infection, it's not a vaccine. Okay. Pretty hit and miss with posting sourcing. Sometimes they show tier sheets and put it up in articles like they talk about. Overall, they seem to be doing well with this little venture. There's no. You know, I don't know if you caught the beginning of the stream here, but out of all the conservatives that are, you know, talking shit, Saagar is the one that I respect the most. I wouldn't call him a bad actor, but I will say some of his comments here are being a little disingenuous. Like he mischaracterized at the beginning of this clip. He mischaracterized what the CDC said about cloth masks. He said, now they're saying that cloth masks don't work. The CDC didn't say that. They said that they're less effective than the N95 medical masks, which is something we've all known for a long time. And now the CDC finally catching up with everybody and pointing that out. So why do you have to be disingenuous about that comment, Saagar? So, you know, I'm not letting him off the hook here. But at the same time, if we're referencing data, you know, and reputable sources are putting it out there, it's not healthy for the left, and I'm a progressive lefty, to be ignoring information, especially when we're finger wagging at fascist Republicans who are totally disregarding science, totally disregarding, you know, education and like, you know, factual data and reality. So, you know, we can't allow ourselves on the left, as comfortable and fun as that would be, we can't allow ourselves to fall into that trap of, well, that's not how I feel. I don't care what the data says. That's my fifis are different, right? When it comes to science and it comes to data, unfortunately, like Ben Shapipi said, we got to be facts over feelings on this shit. I'm sorry. I don't mean to quote an asshole.
And in some instances, bad public policy as well.
Yeah.
It's so hard to find anywhere where these things are just like acknowledged, where you're actually trying to sort through the science in a real way, not an ideological way, when you're really trying to weigh the costs and the benefits. There's just a lot of partisan thinking on both sides of this issue that's frustrating.
See, to me, the moral crime is that young people are afraid. I don't think they should be afraid. I think it's a terrible thing in order to be afraid whenever you're young.
Well, the media is a lot to blame for that.
Yeah, and they are the people who gaslight.
they've really done a poor job.
It's a moral crime, guys, but let's not pearl clutch and use children for our arguments.
Of explaining clearly the relative levels of risk depending on where you are in society. And when you paint with a blanket brush, then if you're a person who's, you know, consuming that type of media, it makes sense that you would internalize that as, I personally need to be afraid, even though in fact your own personal risk profile is much lower than someone who's, say, old, overweight, unvaccinated.
And yet, what is the nuance that we hear over on CNN? Well, take a listen to the same reaction.
You know, Dr. Reiner, to you first, because you did call out Bari Weiss on Twitter. You told her to grow up. Tell us why, you know, you had such a negative reaction to her comments.
Well, first of all, her behavior was childish, which is why I told her to grow up. She ranted about how inconvenienced she has been by this pandemic and how it's not real anymore. Well, I'll tell you that for the 10,000 Americans who died last week and for their families, yeah, it was damn real. And for the people who, you know, struggle to keep them alive. And
I mean, fuck CNN, but okay, that's a pretty good point. People are dropping the fuck dead from this shit.
And for the thousands and thousands of healthcare workers.
Hey, QWERTY, suck my fucking dick, bitch. What you think about that, huh?
Who have been doing this nonstop for 2 years, her behavior was childish and selfish. Look, this pandemic has gone on, you know, in large part because the virus has mutated, and 25% of the American population, of the adults in this country, have decided not to get vaccinated. Now, she may be frustrated, you know, that, you know, life isn't normal, but we are in the hottest point of this pandemic in the last 2 years. Now, thankfully, in places like New York and DC,
the infection rate, because Omicron is more infective, but because Omicron is less deadly, the death rate is lowered. But yeah, no, I mean, when you look at the infection rates, it's hotter than Delta.
In Boston, the virus is starting to recede. But, you know, we've lost 860,000 people, and I'm afraid that, you know, by St. Patrick's Day, we're going to be staring at 1 million people dead in this country. And to hear, you know, somebody who has such a large platform like Ms. Weiss sort of say she's done with it. It's not real. It's a pandemic of the bureaucracy. No, this is a very real pandemic, and 1 million people in this country will have paid the price.
No. Yeah, so Saagar, he's gonna be understanding with that data, right? He's not gonna be totally flippant with 1 million people dead and make some really cold comparisons here, right? He's gonna I mean, come on, right? He's gonna show a little fairness here. Pro or anti-COVID? I'm anti-moron, so go ahead and enjoy your fucking time out. The fuck out of here, dumbass.
Yeah, first of all, Bari, why? I'm like, you don't know how to pronounce her name? It ain't hard, Brianna Keeler. Second, this doctor, this is such a disingenuous argument. The vast majority of those deaths occurred when people did not have access to the vaccine. And then many of the people who are...
So he's saying a grand majority of the deaths happened before we got the vaccine. I'll give him that one. I don't know if that's true, but that sounds about right.
Dying themselves are the people who have, per the CDC, who are vaccinated up to 4 comorbidities. And this will...
So, and he's also making this the comorbidities argument, referencing data from the CDC. If it's uncomfortable, it sucks, okay? But I would show the data on the screen, please. Show the data on the screen. Give me a link to that CDC study you're talking about. Come on.
Sound callous. Something was going to take those people out, okay?
Wow, dude. Don't mean to sound callous, but something was going to take them out anyway. So let's not try to prevent COVID, huh? Don't make me wear a mask while I'm getting coffee. Data or not, that's some fucking bullshit.
Up to 4 comorbidities. And this will sound callous. Something was going to take those people out, okay? Cold can take you out when you're that sick. The flu can take you out when you're that sick. You're in a very vulnerable state when you're that immunocompromised. I feel sorry for you, but we don't shut society.
Yeah, okay, buddy. How about you stop fucking pretending like you give a shit, huh? Come on. I feel sorry for you. Does anyone fucking believe that?
Society down whenever it comes to that. And especially in what he's saying around the healthcare workers and the weaponization of that. Nobody is denying that it isn't hard to work in the healthcare profession. But that's also your job. We do not shut...
But that's your job. So it's okay. We're gonna add extra stress to it. To those underpaid healthcare workers at the private healthcare fucking places.
Down all of American society because the ICU capacity, it goes from 65 to 72%. We simply don't do that.
So that's the case across the nation, huh? It's been a 12% rise, huh?
And as you said, there is no consideration here of any of the risks. Do you hear anywhere on national television about how recent developmental studies of children find them 2 standard deviations below the normal baseline of the general population? 2 standard deviations. That is a catastrophe. Ask any person who's a teacher right now. They say kids are more unruly. They are, a lot of them have been not socialized properly.
I thought it's gross and disgusting that we're going to use kids to make our argument. What would you call this?
Say kids are more unruly. They are, a lot of them have been not socialized properly for years. Their learning disability has increased. Math scores are plummeting. Testing, and you talk about this all the time. Sometimes it's closed and it's open, and then now he needs a test because he was exposed to somebody and it cost me $500 or whatever.
Yeah. So the childless Saagar is going to tell us how worried he is about other people's kids, huh?
Pocket. This is madness in terms of, and I didn't even talk about the adults, in terms of suicide, fentanyl, alcohol, drug use. I can go on forever. There's none of these that are being reflected in this piece, and I just find it so dramatically disingenuous, Crystal.
What I find gaslighty about what he does here is, on the one hand, he starts off by expressing so much concern for the, I think it was 10,000 people 10, that he said died in the week before. And then he quickly switches to, and we know from the data that those people overwhelmingly were going to be unvaccinated people, because if you're vaccinated, you're pretty well protected against hospitalization and death, unless you have just a massive number of comorbidities, as you said. So we know overwhelmingly those 10,000 people were going to be largely unvaccinated. So he starts by expressing all this concern for them.
So we shouldn't be concerned about the unvaccinated. Look, I'm pro-vax. I'm anti-COVID, dumbasses of the world. So we're just going to be like, well, they didn't get vaccinated, so they get to die. I'm on the fence about that one. I mean, it is a personal choice. You know, if you don't get a flu vaccine, you die from the flu. Who's to blame? You know, it's a good question. Why would COVID be any different? Some of these are really hard realities especially for me to swallow. I don't like to hear people dying. You know, I don't want a nanny state, but I also don't like people dying. I don't think it's cool. And I'm not saying that's what they're saying here, but oh God, this is tough.
And then he turns around and is, you know, really blaming and sort of shaming this very same population. And it's like, okay, well, listen, we need to have a perspective at this point of adults, some certain percent, it's actually smaller than you think, have made a decision, I'm not getting any of these doses.
Oh yeah, his data is wrong. It's not 25%.
So he said 25%. I suspect that is the number who haven't gotten 2 doses.
Exactly.
Because if you look at people who have gotten at least 1 dose, it's 85% of the adult population. So you're actually only talking about 15% of the adult population, which is not great, but not terrible, who have decided not to get any dose at all. And at a certain point, I think you have to take the perspective that, say, Jared Polis has and said they've had their opportunity.
All right.
And
there's another source. I'm not, that name doesn't ring bells, but there's another source.
You know, we're going to continue to encourage them to get vaccinated because that'll be the best thing to protect them. But especially since the government's not coming in with any more checks or backstopping business or any of that anymore, we have to move forward and based on the data and the science, look at what the relative risk is for these different populations and make appropriate decisions. So I just think that they use facts in a way that is very gaslighting and disingenuous.
Thank you, Mammoth. You're extremely informed. I appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Ultimately, and I do have to say, I mean, I think the most compelling argument on the side of people who are like in favor of stricter pandemic lockdowns and these sorts of things is the overwhelming burden on the hospital staff, because I do feel bad for those healthcare workers who have been through.
But it's their job, Crystal. It's their job. Yeah, they got to walk around in basically hazmat suits and fucking 3 masks all day. But oh, it's okay. I don't want to wear a mask at my sports game, says Sagar.
Hell, and there have been so many resignations and the staffing levels are down and all of that stuff. But you know, if that's where the issue is, let's flood the zone with resources. Let's pay people more. How about that? To get more nurses and doctors into these facilities. And oh, by the way,
I agree, and it looks like Sagar does agree with that as well.
Part of why we have these shortages in terms of beds available and in terms of capacity is because of our for-profit healthcare system that has led to all of these hospital consolidations, so that we are in this kind of a vulnerable situation when we really need to have
100% true.
And to the extent that most of them are exaggerating. And I know this sounds callous, I'm sorry, but you know, they never tell you ICU.
Stop fucking saying I'm sorry, you nerd, you fucking dork. Stop saying I'm sorry, okay? Because you're so fucking clearly not. All right? You're getting off on referencing data here, true or otherwise, okay? Just stop saying sorry, okay? That doesn't make the fucking bitter pill go down any better, all right?
Most of them are exaggerating. And I know this sounds callous, I'm sorry, but you know, they never tell you ICU capacity is supposed to be like 65%. These things are expensive to run. So when they're like, it's at 75, it's like 10% above baseline. I mean, in many cases.
Yeah. Let's work you 10% harder. Tell me how you feel about it, huh? Let's work you 10% harder without any kind of pay raise. Pay you some shit-ass wages. I'm sorry, it's your job, says the fucking dork who wants to get his coffee without a mask. Just stop saying I'm sorry, okay?
We do not see triage care being vast majority across the country. The way that this is being exaggerated is just ridiculous to the nurses out there and the people. I stand with you. I want you to get paid more. I think it's outrageous that, you know, your hours are ridiculous and that there's not people there. But that has a very easy solution as well.
Okay, that's fair. Let's give them that one. I'll give you that one. Thank you, Sagar.
And so, you know, if also the government has not expressed any interest in doing anything about that.
No.
And in that situation, what are we supposed to do? I'm not going to.
Are you going to support politicians that want to change that? As a conservative, I don't think you do. I would really like to see Sagar's voting record. Because yeah, no, there is a solution, and that's not to support it's certainly not to support right-wing dogma. He still calls himself a conservative. So who do you support, Sagar? You know, that's actually going to effectively change this. We got Mitch McConnell out here saying we're going to run on nothing. All we're going to run on is shitting on Democrats. That's what Mitch McConnell is saying. So if you're on that side still supporting these dickheads, you know, I'm sorry, is not good enough.
Going to be held hostage because ICU capacity is 10 or 15.
Held hostage, folks. Held hostage. Oh, I gotta wear a mask to a baseball game. I'm being held hostage. Oh, no. I went to a restaurant and they checked my vaccine. Help, someone save me. Is this fucking nerd serious? Held hostage? Held hostage. Holy shit.
What are we supposed to do? I'm not going to be held hostage because ICU capacity is 10 or 15% above baseline. And no, neither should everybody else. And I'm relatively much more free than most people. I can't even tell you the stories that I hear all the time. I tweeted about this Johns Hopkins kid was a medical exemption from the booster shot from his doctor, and the university rejected it and said, we're going to expel you. I know.
I mean, that is ridiculous. Okay, you got people, because there are legitimate people who you know, for medical reasons they can't take a vaccine. This has been well known. That's why Walgreens will make you sit around for 15 minutes after they give you the vaccine so you don't fucking fall into a seizure. Because there's like 1% of the 1% that have a pretty negative reaction to it. So cases like that are pretty ridiculous, okay?
People who work office jobs required to wear one mask and then put a KN95 over it and then still come into work so that the bosses can monitor them. Oh, and they're not allowed to eat in the cafeteria. This is nuts. We can't live this way. And, you know, to see the...
Some of the restrictions being put on people are pretty fucking ridiculous. I'm not going to sit here and deny that. Held hostage? All right. Okay, bud.
To see the backlash against that by these freaks who are sitting at home thinking that we should all be like in a penal colony because, you know, things are harder for them at work, and then exaggerating risks to children. As you can tell.
Penal colony. Held hostage. Okay.
I'm getting hopped up, but it really, when I see what happens to these young kids, it drives me crazy.
Yeah, when I see what's happening to those kids, it drives me crazy. But let's not fearmonger with children, guys. That's really bad.
Their lives are being ruined, and it's because of people like this.
Well, what about the kids,
One last note here. The polling says that, especially in terms of kids in schools, even though our opinion may not be what you often hear on these channels, it's like 2/3 to 1/3. In recognition that they're more concerned about learning loss from their kids not being in school than they are of risk of getting sick in school. So, and that's with the media, you know, being wildly irresponsible with helping people understand where the real risk.
If that's the data, that's the data.
Risks lie. So
well
there
said.
you go. Hey guys, thanks so much.
Okay. Well, if you weren't puking already, Sagar and his penal colony being held hostage. We got one more. This one is only 6.5 minutes, thankfully. But Sagar found time. I guess he escaped from his penal colony to give us a little bit more, in between his knee-jerk reactions of Joe Rogan, to give us a little bit more on this. I hope you got some data. I hope you're referencing some fucking data here, Sagar. Because if I go to the description, what am I going to see? Not a fucking link to be found.
Some of the worst COVID insanity stories.
Not a fucking link to be found. All right. Let's hear it. This one I haven't actually heard before yet, so this is all new to my ears.
All right, Sagar, what are you looking at?
Well, as I mentioned here before, I try to highlight some of the worst COVID insanity stories that I can on the show to spotlight the worst.
None of the deaths or cases about, the vaccine actually working. Let's all right. Okay. All right.
Worst actors and stand up for the people that I believe have the least power in our society. That's children and students. Obviously, kids themselves can't vote. Students have no real power beyond their voice. They rely on us to mediate and set the conditions in which they go through their most formative years. So it would follow then that we have a sacred responsibility to consider policies which govern them the most seriously. Now, perhaps you saw the story I posted about Johns Hopkins student. He was vaccinated, he contracted COVID twice. He had a medical exemption from the booster that was then denied by the university, who said they didn't agree with his doctor's conclusion. It's the
Okay, look, you got a doctor like Joe Rogan or Donald Trump saying some shit. Skepticism is fair. But if you have a legitimate doctor that doesn't have, that isn't literally prescribing ivermectin to fucking, you cut your finger and he gives you ivermectin. Okay, that's legitimate. You shouldn't just be rejecting that. Obviously what that was a political thing. They didn't want this guy who's going to brag to everybody, I got a medical exemption. I don't need a mask. I can just walk around and be free. Because he would. They didn't want controversy. Okay, I don't agree with that. If a legitimate doctor is saying some shit, you have to pour molten ivermectin into the cut directly. Is that the trick? I thought you stuck the fucking turkey baster up your rectum and gave it a good squeeze. I thought that's how it happened. Is that just how Joe Rogan likes to do it? I guess that's probably just his thing.
The most extreme example yet of a trend of booster mandates across the United States for children and for college students. And yet, nobody has stopped and asked the question, does any of this make any sense whatsoever? Luckily, journalist David Zweig, who wrote on the absurdity of school masking, is out with a new investigation into booster mandates for kids. David correctly points out that while at the university level, booster mandates are already very real, there are signs they may become real even for much younger children below the age of 18. New York specifically has already updated its guidance to say that if kids 12 and older are exposed to a positive individual, only those who are boosted will be allowed to play sports and participate in extracurricular activity. And Hawaii's governor has said he's going to require boosters for visitors. It is possible soft booster mandates will be in effect for many places with children in the future. So, does that make any sense? As David points out, what's everybody else doing? Let's start with that question. Well, the UK only allows a booster shot for people between 12 and 15 who are very, very high risk. Finland has the same policy. In Ireland, you can't get a booster if you're below the age of 16. In many developed places like Denmark, Sweden, Japan, and Spain, boosters are for adults only. Norway doesn't even give second doses to people between 12 and 15 years old. Just one. Why? Look, it all.
Well, I guess we're not going to reference Canada, though, huh? Just the countries that agree with me. With that said, it's undeniable that those countries referenced are doing their healthcare better than the way it's happening in America. So it's a fair comparison, but leaving out Canada is kind of an interesting thing. So much is his body reaction in the world. No, he's a dumbass. Okay, he's a fucking dumbass. All right. If you're looking for some fucking, I'm sick of him pretending like he's not a right winger. Okay, have you seen his Instagram? He's posting boomer Facebook memes. He's not Goku. He's not Master Roshi, dude. He's fucking Yamcha. That's who the fuck Rogan is. Thinks he's a badass, pulling all the hot bitches, then gets his ass fucking kicked.
Comes down to the risk of myocarditis, the inflammation of the heart, and the incidence of this condition compared to its incidence from contracting COVID if you're a child. Now, David quotes both Dr. Monica Gandhi of the University of California, San Francisco, a bona fide infectious disease specialist in her own right, and Dr. Paul Offit. He's the director of the Vaccine Education Center at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia.
He's
and
barely
in the case
a
of
Yamcha.
Gandhi, she said
Yamcha actually put in the work, okay? Rogan ain't putting in the work. He's injecting the work. I'd love to see Rogan in a real fight. That shit would please me to no end. Have him fight fucking Jake Paul. This shit would be hilarious. He's a Bulma. Bulma kicks some ass, yo. Bulma would kick Yamcha's ass from here to the fucking moon. That Master Roshi blew up and no one's just going to talk about it. How come Master Roshi can blow up the moon in Dragon Ball and we're just not going to ever talk about it again? That shit bothers me to this day. Anyway, Reuters recently came out with another article which states Kowa Co. Ltd. is working with Kisanu University testing ivermectin. They said it has antiviral effects against Omicron. Hey, if it works, it works. That's great. Okay, but right now, the company that makes ivermectin has stated on their website, don't use this for COVID. Okay? And also, we want to talk about the monoclonal antibodies that are extremely expensive and not available to everybody. So you're not going to get vaccinated. You're a fucking millionaire. Okay? You're going to tell people, one, to use a drug that the website itself, the company that makes it says, don't take this for COVID. And then two, we're going to suggest monoclonal antibodies, which are not as effective as a vaccine. That's a fact. Are way more expensive and not and not available to everybody across the nation because of supply and demand. Okay, so it's real easy for a millionaire who's super comfortable to say, yeah, just use this extremely expensive, less effective thing instead of getting the free vaccine you get from walking into Walgreens. And let's just not talk about that. Let's just pretend like that's the right way. Dr. Rogan, right? Come on. That's a Yamcha move.
Said she would not give a booster her 12 and 14-year-old sons. Dr. Offit said he advised his own son in his 20s not to get one, while discussing the risk of getting one for health.
One doctor said that, guys. What is the medical consensus? Okay. That's really fucking disingenuous. Monoclonal, and when he got COVID, dude was running 105 fever, and I'm happy for that. Monoclonal antibodies have proven to work. Okay, they do work. They're not as effective as a vaccine, but you can't take a vaccine after you've caught COVID, right? Because that's not how vaccines work. Vaccines are not a cure. Okay, so I'm happy about that. Okay, but for a comfortable millionaire to tell people, oh, I'm a Superman, don't get the vaccine, get this other shit that doesn't work as well, I think that's bullshit. Oh, he's not exactly careful. He's constantly going out and doesn't want to get the vaccine despite being offered it many times. That's foolish. Okay, I'm glad your brother was treated, and I'm glad your brother's alive. But frankly, that's fucking foolish. Okay?
Said she would not give a booster her 12 and 14-year-old sons. Dr. Offit said he advised his own son in his 20s not to get one, while discussing the risk of getting one.
One doctor says that. Do we have a consensus on that? I don't think we do, Sagar. I don't think we fucking do, dude. What happened to my... There we go. What happened to my soundboard? But no, I mean, if one doctor says it, then we should just... That's the new reality then, right, Sagar? Because that's how honest actors work.
For a healthy 17-year-old boy. Now, the experts don't stop there. The WHO's own chief scientist, Dr. Samya Swaminathan, said, quote, there is no evidence healthy children or healthy adolescents need boosters.
All right.
No evidence.
That's a source. None of these sources are perfect, but the World Health Organization should not be ignored either. All right. Who says no evidence healthy children and adolescents need COVID-19 boosters? Hold on, let me just read this a little bit. There is no evidence at present that healthy children and adolescents need booster doses of COVID-19 vaccine. If that's what the science says, that's what the science says. The World Health Organization chief, Sumanta Swaminathan, said on Tuesday. Speaking in a news briefing, she said, well, there seems to be some waning of vaccine immunity over time against the rapidly spreading Omicron variant of the coronavirus. More research needs to be done to ascertain who needs booster doses. All right, that's the WHO saying that. Okay, that's not just a single jackass. Okay. All right. These are bitter pills, man. Look, I don't want any of this. Okay, but I don't want to be in a position where we're pulling everything back right as a new variant comes along, and then everyone starts getting it again. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm pro-liberty. Okay, if a government, I don't care if it's the fucking make your dick bigger vaccine. Okay, if the government knocks on my door and says you need to take this shit, I'm telling them fuck you. I just so I get that as well. I understand. All right, but let's get back to it.
At all. All of this is predicated currently on recent data that David has reviewed from the Israeli Ministry of Health and the Canadian government, models and trial data from Pfizer, and studies in peer-reviewed journals. All of them, quote, suggest that the CDC has downplayed the prevalence and severity, end quote, of myocarditis amongst children and specifically younger men. David quotes...
Interesting. Okay. I would like to see more information on that, but the CDC is not innocent in a lot of things, okay? If they're downplaying it and there's legitimate evidence of that, that is troubling.
Specific studies from Kaiser Permanente, the University of Oxford, and the FDA's own memo, which show instances of myocarditis amongst younger individuals who get a booster. But in the question of severity, the results are actually stunning. David, upon reviewing the CDC's own slides, finds, quote, if you are a young male who is vaccinated, you have two choices. Option A, don't get a booster and run a 0.3 in 100,000 risk of ending up in the hospital with COVID. Option B, get the booster and you...
I haven't seen Dope Sick yet. It is on my short list to watch, though. I've heard a lot of interesting things about it. Thank you for the reminder, Bulletproof Baldy. And welcome back. I think I've seen you before.
Run a 10 in 100,000 risk of getting myocarditis. That number was then confirmed to David by Dr. Sarah Long. She's a member of the CDC Advisory Committee and a pediatric infectious specialist at Drexel University. But to be fair, she says this: the sample size was too small. It was only 20,000 doses to males, which is too small to extrapolate then. So there's that.
All right. So look, and that fucking 5 seconds right there out of thank you for following. I do appreciate that. That 5 seconds is the reason why we're even listening to Sagar. Okay? Because a Sean Hannity, a Tucker Carlson, a Joe Rogan isn't going to bring that part of the study up. Okay? That the scientist said, the scientist that's making this claim that he's quoting is like, the sample size wasn't large enough. This is what that current study shows, but I would like to do a larger study. Okay, so that's why we're even listening to fucking nerd boy with the chuckle teeth, dude. I mean, honestly, the surgery he did on his teeth to make him extremely white makes him look like fucking Pinocchio. Anyway, I'm not perfect, am I? Okay, I'm just saying. Okay, thankfully he's not wearing a bow tie. All right, I do like the tie. The tie's fresh.
It was only 20,000 doses to males, which is too small to extrapolate then. So there's that. But Long did admit to David, quote, we made the decision, in my opinion, without any data on safety. And she herself was somebody who voted to authorize the booster shot for 12 to 15-year-olds. So to be clear, the United States is the most extreme in its recommendations that all kids over 12 get boosted. The process through which the booster shot itself was authorized did not consider safety data by their own admission. The safety data shows the opposite results that we do have, that we would want for children. And given all of that, the mainstream media is ignoring all of this entirely. While
which is something that they do all the time. If there's a narrative that they feel is advantageous to them, they will gleefully ignore actual real science and data around it. Let's not pretend that MSNBC, CNN, and ABC and all these other left-leaning mainstream outlets are honest actors when it comes to how they're pushing their narratives. The fact that they have narratives at all is disturbing, okay? And I'm not one of those idiots that thinks that, you can have completely non-biased media. But there should be some kind of attempt. And let's be real, MSM, mainstream media, they're totally biased, okay? It's about them goddamn Benjamins.
Governments take the CDC's recommendations, which at this point you should probably consider anti-scientific and scientific in their own right, and turning them into mandates for private institutions and perhaps even children. The case for mandatory booster shots for kids is honestly worse than the case to mask kids in school. With masks, the evidence is inconclusive at best. With boosters, the evidence that we do have, and I want to stress, do have, shows actual possible harm in the wrong direction. I say this as someone who has championed the vaccine, vaccinated myself. It dramatically reduces hospitalization and death, which is all that really matters in a society that accepts, by and large, that COVID is here to stay forever. And with
and that's disingenuous, okay? Because now all of a sudden we're just giving up the idea that we will never get rid of COVID. We got rid of the fucking plague. We got rid of polio. But we can't get rid of COVID? We're just going to accept that reality now so you don't have to wear a mask when you go to a baseball game. Because as referencing what the last clip said, because he's in a penal colony, because he's being held hostage. right? So now we just got to accept this idea that we'll just never get rid of COVID, right? No, I'm not down with that. We put a man on the fucking moon. We can't reduce COVID to the point where, you know, we don't have to worry about getting it when we go to a football game. For real? We're just giving up, huh? Because you're sick and tired of the mask. You're in your penal colony.
Boosters themselves, for adults, I recommend them, especially if you are obese or have a health condition, then it sounds like a great idea for you. But for kids, it's incumbent upon us to do everything in our power to keep both kids safe and develop policy for them in the most rigorous of rigorous manners.
I agree, but can I point out the hypocrisy one more time that this guy criticizes other people for pearl clutching and using children for his arguments? Okay? Pretty hypocritical, frankly. Omicron got rid of COVID in Ireland. We are 98% vax. We have dropped all restrictions. It's all good as long as there's no variants, except there's already been 2 variants of Omicron. The B1 and B2, I believe, is what they're being called. Omicron B1 and Omicron B2. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, yeah, as long as it doesn't turn itself into Delta, you know, all right, okay. I'm a man of science. I'm a man of science. Hopefully, right? And we're just gonna hedge it all on hopefully. You know what I mean? I'm just not cool with that. I'm the kind of guy that would prefer, okay, let's keep them going for a little bit longer, right? Keep encouraging the vaccinations if increased human survivability through technological advance is going to be. Yeah, I'm not a nihilist. I don't think people dying is a cool thing, okay? I would prefer, you know, to expand humanity into space and to have 100 billion human beings all across the galaxy. Okay? We have so many resources and so many places to live, okay? Beyond Earth. The idea that we need to euthanize, you know, and we need to cull our population is outrageously stupid. We are man fucking kind. Okay? We put a man on the moon. We can put a man on Mars, and we can put a man outside the Milky Way. This idea that it's okay for people to die, I think is disgusting. With that said, you can't have a free society without danger. Okay? You can't have a free society and also be free totally and be totally safe. Okay? It's impossible. Some danger does exist in a free society. Omicron evaded all vaccines. Luckily, it was mild. Yeah, luckily. You know, hope, luck. I don't like to base public policy on hope and luck if we don't have to. It's drastically changed quickly and we don't know. Yeah, okay, but I don't know what kind of point you're even trying to make. Okay? Because you know all right. I would prefer the government to use science to protect as many people as possible while reducing the damage done to your civil liberties as much as possible. I don't have a point, clearly. Just go back to DBZ references. Those are clearly you're more comfortable with those.
Child's life is the most precious and innocent thing that exists, and the negligence and the outright callousness that these policies are being developed with will have far-ranging consequences for many years to come. I mean, you read this piece, Crystal, and it's absolutely...
Yeah. All right. Okay. These are bitter pills. I'm not going to sit here and be Rachel Maddow or Anderson Cooper and be like, well, my narrative is this, so you know, so I'm just gonna ignore, you know, what the WHO is saying, right? I'm only gonna reference the scientists that are saying the things that I like. I'm not down for that shit. So, okay. Man, 28 minutes. I want to eat dinner. All right, let's listen to a little bit of this. This is from the New York Times, I think. Yeah, New York Times. We need to talk about COVID part 1. Let's get into it. Let's hear this. I haven't heard this, so you're getting my reaction raw dogging it here. Let's see.
From New York Times, I'm Michael Barbaro. This is The Daily.
And let's, caveat here, the New York Times got us into the war in Iraq. Lied to the American public. It is not the paper of record. It does not deserve the respect that it receives in mainstream audiences. Okay? They're extremely biased at the New York Times. Let's be real.
Today. In a recent poll, the Times set out to understand how Americans were thinking about the pandemic as they headed into a third year. I spoke with my colleague, David Leonhardt, about what the poll ended up revealing about how ready or not the country is to have a new conversation about how to go on living with the virus.
Okay. The way that he's speaking and the music, I'm seriously hate this. Okay, but let's proceed. I'm not a fan of this, dude.
It's Wednesday, January 26th. David, you have been at the New York
I feel like
Times
he's doing
for
this
2
with
decades,
his
covering
hands.
economics, overseeing all of our Washington coverage, writing an op-ed column. But this is actually your first appearance on The Daily, because as we were creating this show, you were off creating your own new approach to the news, which was a newsletter called The Morning. And it's become a very important part at any given moment.
Talk radio.
2 years. Understand
Sorry,
the pandemic. You've
sorry.
taken a very data-driven approach to helping readers understand where we are or where we aren't at any given moment in these past 2 years. And all of which is to say, welcome to The Daily, and I'm sorry it has taken so long.
Shut up!
Well, it's great to be here, Michael. As a longtime listener of New York Talk Radio, I'm reminded of the phrase, longtime listener, first-time caller, or first in law.
First in law. Love it.
Oh my God. So, I feel like I'm listening to Pod Save America on fucking Ambien. All right. I don't know if we'll get 5 minutes into this. Okay.
So the reason we want to talk to you today is because as part of your coverage of the virus, David, you decided to commission a public opinion poll about Americans' views of the pandemic. So just to start, what was your goal with this poll? Why a pandemic poll and why now?
Because it seems like
dude, 100% correct, Mammoth. Totally correct. He's in a fucking changing room right now, talking as quiet as he can. Someone's gonna flush.
We might be at a turning point with COVID, and I think there are a few reasons for that. So first of all, a lot of people have put a lot of effort into avoiding getting COVID, but Omicron makes that a lot harder because it's just so contagious. And so there are people out there who tried really hard to avoid COVID and are now sort of saying, you know what, I just have to admit that I'm probably going to get it and be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's understandable because the second thing about Omicron is that it tends to be milder than earlier versions of the virus. It can still be severe for people who are not vaccinated and for a small number of people who are immunocompromised or very elderly. But for the vast majority of people, if you are vaccinated and you get Omicron, you are not going to get very sick.
Right.
In the United States.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's called a newsboy cap. And the reason why I'm wearing it is because my hair. The hair situation, okay? Okay. Yeah, no, it's a fact. Vaccinated, you catch COVID, you're going to have mild symptoms for the most part. Okay? What about the poor sons of bitches that, and I have something right here, they smell and taste rotten sewage. Okay, from catching Omicron, they're vaccinated. I hope that's brought up.
At least we now have virtually universal access to vaccines. Anyone who's old enough and wants to be vaccinated can now be vaccinated.
Right.
Thank
and
you.
So
I need a
sort of
haircut.
put all this together, you realize, wait a second, we might be at a pivot point with COVID in which it goes from being this horrible, deadly, life-dominating pandemic to something that is more endemic, to something that looks more like things that we deal with all the time without shutting down daily life, like the flu. And so given all
Okay, so this is part of this narrative of, well, we couldn't do it. We failed at COVID zero, so now we just live with it. Is everyone cool with this? I don't think I'm cool with this. We can defeat polio. We can defeat the plague. The you know, the Black Death. You know, we can defeat that, but we can't do COVID, huh? Like these two have held captive for years and exposed to ASMR. It's like they're in Plato's cave and they were only exposed to ASMR. It's that Pod Save America shit, dude. This namby-pamby, milk toast, you know, fucking bullshit. You know what I mean? Look, I get it. You know, I'm in your face. I'm brash. Yeah, Spanish flu was ended by a milder variant. It also wasn't transmissible over the air, right? I don't think it was Spanish flu. Talking about the bird flu. No, Spanish flu was. I'm thinking of the bird flu. I'm thinking of that bird flu thing we had to deal with like 15 years ago. Jesus Christ, I'm getting old. But no, the Spanish flu, that was airborne. As a nice temporary. Yeah, okay. You know what would be funny? Plato's cave scenario where the only thing they watched was DBZ. And they think DBZ is the way the world works. As a nice temperature. I doubt it. According to the drawing, it didn't look very comfortable. Anyway.
All that, we wanted to do a poll and we wanted to go out there and say to Americans, how are you feeling about COVID right now? How worried are you still about getting sick? What do you think governments should do in response to COVID? So we asked Morning Consult, which is a survey firm, to go out and conduct a national
No, it
poll,
hasn't.
And they did so.
That's
They interviewed more
false.
than 4,400 Americans all across the country from different demographic groups. And they basically said, how are you thinking about COVID now? How are you thinking about what the future of COVID is going to be?
Less
So what you're saying
people
is
are
that
dying.
this is a statistically
bulletproof.
sound effort to take the temperature of the American public on exactly how it's thinking about COVID at this moment that might or might not be a pivot in the pandemic. And given that question you had going into this poll,
We're going to do 10 minutes. Once this hits the 10-minute mark, I don't care what they're saying. I'm throwing this entire thing in the trash. I can't take this.
are we at a turning point? Tell us about what you found.
The first thing I'd say is there is no one thing we found. Americans' attitudes
I know it's
toward
true.
COVID differ.
It's true. Bulletproof is right. It is true. Denmark basically saying it's all good. Canada and Toronto announced that, you know, they're you know, lifting most restrictions. You know, you can, of course, you know, businesses are allowed to mandate masks and mandate vaccines to use their services. But you know, it's all good. It's all good until there's another variant and it's more deadly, right? And I know I'm being the doomsayer there, but it's like, I just don't like the idea of like hoping. And, you know, because how many times before we even had the vaccine and like during Delta, was there this hope that it was going to go away and then it got fucking worse, right? I mean, how many times have we been bait and switched on that? You know, because, okay, now we're supposed to listen to our governments that lie to us and fucking have ties to business interests and corporate interests, you know, that are only concerned with making money, that want people to get back to work immediately. You know what I mean? So, okay. But it is true. It is true.
Based on all kinds of factors, the same way our attitudes on all sorts of subjects differ, often quite starkly. But I would say that even though I've spent most of the last 2 years writing about COVID and reporting about it, there were still parts of this poll that surprised me. And those parts I do think raise some questions about exactly how we're going to pivot and when we're going to pivot, whether we're
I'm just changing my
weeks
baby
away from a pivot or still many months away from a pivot. And the three issues that really raised those questions in my mind were, one, about how people of different age groups are thinking about COVID risk. The second was about how people with different vaccination status are thinking about COVID risk. And the third one was how people are thinking about schools right now and how they should be operating.
So let's start with what you just said were surprising views of the pandemic by age group. What did the poll find?
For-profit healthcare industry wants more profit. Big Pharma is a fucking cancer, okay? They take research that we, the taxpayer, paid for and then turn it into a for-profit endeavor, okay? They can gobble my fucking nuts. Pfizer can gobble my nuts. Johnson & Johnson on my fucking poll, okay? With that said, the vaccines work, okay? But, you know, you want to talk about how deadly that they've been. The third world, there's places in the third world that haven't gotten their first dose. Okay, because they don't want to give up their fucking secret formula so they can make more money. Bill Gates talking about how he's going to, you know, vaccinate a bunch of people, keep everything for profit. Mark Cuban talking about, I'm going to make drug prices cheaper while keeping everything for profit. The obvious solution is to remove the profit motive from healthcare completely. Yeah, that includes putting Pfizer out of fucking business. All right, but the vaccines work. Dr. John Campbell, huh? Well, give me a good link.
I think this is really remarkable. We found a striking degree of similarity among older and younger people about how worried they were about getting sick from COVID. So 17% of people aged 65 and above said they were very worried about getting sick from COVID. And 23% of people 18 to 34 said they were very worried. So younger people were slightly more likely to say that they were very worried about getting sick from COVID than older people. Now, when you look across the whole poll, I don't want to make too much of small differences. What I would say is that the degree of worry is quite similar among younger people and older people. And the reason that's so surprising is that we know scientifically the risk is not similar. It's extremely different. Right. It's much higher for older people. It's so much higher that 3/4 of all deaths in the US have been among people aged 65 and older. Right. COVID is overwhelmingly mild for younger people. And yet, older people and younger people essentially look at the risks and give extremely similar answers, even though the reality is that the risks are very different.
Well, given all that, what would drive young people to be as anxious as older people about COVID? Because the data shows that's just not in line with the scientific risk. How do you start to explain that?
I start to explain it by saying political ideology has to be a big part of this. And we see that repeatedly in the polls.
That's true.
So across most demographic groups, COVID attitudes really aren't that different. Men and women don't have very different COVID attitudes. Different racial groups don't have
Okay, I'm adding this to the queue for Saturday's stream, Bulletproof Baldy. We'll take a look at this on Saturday's stream. Thank you for the link. If anyone else has any links that they'd like to share, to be featured on the stream, maybe. I encourage you to join the Discord. I got an invite for you here. Let me just, how the hell do I do this? I'm such a boomer. I don't know how to invite people to fucking invite people. There we go. There we go. You want to hop by the Discord? We have a politics channel. You're welcome to post shit in there. We also have a general and anime channel. If you like anime and gaming, hey, yeah, when we can find time for that. So I encourage you to check it out if you want to post some links and maybe be featured on the stream. I'd appreciate it.
Very different COVID attitudes. The rich, the middle class, and the poor don't have very different COVID attitudes. Who does have very different COVID attitudes? Democrats and Republicans. Radically different COVID attitudes. And I think the most fascinating way to see this is to look at the poll by both partisanship and by age. It's really kind of remarkable. So if you look across either Republicans or Democrats, there's almost no difference in how people assess their own personal risk by age. So old Republicans are roughly as worried as young Republicans. Old Democrats are roughly as worried as young Democrats. And as we've talked about, that's just not scientifically rational. But when you separate out Democrats and Republicans, that's it. The gap is enormous. It is so big that older Republicans are significantly less worried about getting sick than younger Democrats. Only 47%.
Yeah, and we've in our day-to-day, if you're a political junkie like me, in our day-to-day lives, this is what we've seen, right? There's a partisan split. 7.3 million in COVID, dude. Yeah, dude. I'm about to hop on my Christian Minecraft server and do some naughtiness.
% of Republicans who are 65 and older say they are worried about getting sick from COVID. 70%.
All right, that's it. Goodbye. Thank you. That's it. Can't do it anymore. Thanks so much. That's the New York Times. They're okay. Sorry I wasted your time with that. Okay. But here's more proof of what Bulletproof Baldy was talking about. We are seeing this in Denmark and other places. Majority of Canadians say it's time to end COVID-19 restrictions. Majority of Canadians say it's time to end all COVID-19 restrictions and let Canadians manage their own level of risk. I would like to point out that, one, Canadians' healthcare system is much better. I was not listening at all. That's your own problem. The healthcare system in Canada is much better than in America. And the vaccination rate is much higher. than in America. Not much, I guess 5 or 10%, but that's millions of people. So I mean, here we go. You know, we got some charts for the chart fans out there. Total 54% say it's time to end of it. You know, of all the provinces. BC 52, Alberta 57, Saskatchewan 62, MB. Fuck, I don't know all of them. Thank you for following, QWERTY. I do appreciate it. I do. I know I'm a hard ass, but thank you. Fuck, Manitoba. Manitoba, 51%. Ontario, 54%. Quebec, 59%. ATL. Oh, I don't know that one. Shit. I'm an American who's moved to Canada. I really should know these things. You're angry as fuck, but in an endearing way. You goddamn right I'm angry. We're literally dealing with a fascist takeover of the United States. Our democracy is collapsing. If you're not angry, if you're not ready to act now, you'll never act. You're gonna let the fascist boot roll over you and tell you what you can read, who you can fuck, how you can think. So if you're not pissed, you're not human, or you're not paying attention. Straight up. So strongly disagree we're in the minority. I don't strongly disagree. I mean, I want the science. That's all I want. I want decisions based off science. But here they are. I mean, here's what the polls are saying in Canada. That means something. If Omicron cases have indeed ebbed, it has many Canadians asking what is next. The Institute noted in a release. Vigilance is the request from public health officials through plans for vaccination proof have begun to diverge, with some provinces removing requirements and restrictions. The public sentiment appears to be moving in the direction of opening up communities. If that's what the science shows, then that's the direction we should go in. Because yeah, obviously we shouldn't be living with this shit for the rest of our lives. That's ridiculous. So that's just, further proof. Memes for entertainment. You look, just as we have the left wing going insane with COVID restrictions, we do have the right wing going bonkers and pretending like none of this shit exists. Nerds at all costs, and I'm heavily uneducated on science. Well, that's brave of you to admit, but let's try to fix that, okay? But you hear these ridiculous arguments against COVID, and what if they were applied? This is like a what if. This is whataboutism. But what if these same rationales were applied to headlights? I'm not a sheep. I'm not going to turn on my headlights at night. I refuse to live in fear. I can see just fine, right? And you'll see right wingers say, "Oh, my immune system works just fine," as they're getting hooked up to the ventilator. I respect your choice to use your lights, but so respect my choice not to. When a person driving on the road without their headlights is putting other people in danger, just like an unvaccinated person without a mask, without protection, is putting other people in danger. And we're just going to ignore that. If other drivers can't see me, that is their problem, right? And right wingers will say, well, if people catch COVID from me, that's their own problem. It may be a law, but it's an unjust and infringes on my constitutional rights. We have seatbelt laws. We have laws. If you want to go to public school, you got to get vaccinated, right? We've all agreed that those aren't unjust. Being Catholic in life on easy mode, just let Jesus take the wheel. God is dead. I have a medical exemption and are not allowed, and you are not allowed to ask me about that. That's a good one. Imagine someone saying that about driving without headlights at night. I'm a member of the Freedom to Drive in the Dark Committee. And we're seeing that as well on the right wing. I didn't get vaxxed to feel what it's like to be a minority. That's a good one. I needed to be a victim, okay? I need to be a victim here. God faked his death. That would be quite a twist. That would be quite a twist. And he's got another meme here. It's less applicable. The Titanic was sinking today. You know, the right-wingers, right-wingers are trash, okay? They're the modern fascist party, okay? They're burning books. They're radically changing our electoral system to make sure that no matter what we vote for, we're going to get right-wing idiots. They're attempting coups, and they're following cults of personality. Okay? And this is the bullshit that they feed us, all right? It's just, you know, we didn't have to focus too much on it. I did want to point out the long COVID stuff. Okay, I did want to point this out from The Guardian. Yeah, I'm super happy. Let me subscribe to your shit. You know, I looked up the benefits of subscribing to The Guardian. It doesn't remove advertisements. Why am I going to give your ass money if I still got to watch, if I still got to look at the fucking boner pills and shit while I'm trying to read your fucking news? Your choices in the US are not good. Yeah, they're not. And it all has to do with capitalism. Let's be real. We want to keep capitalism, we got to save it from itself. Okay? I'm no communist, but I can't deny the faults of capitalism. They're all over the place. So many sufferers have been left unable to eat due to long-term distortions to their senses. Okay? And you know, where was Sagar on this? Sagar didn't mention long COVID even fucking once. You know? Calling them choices is generous. That is true. That is true. I mean, it's a rock and a hard place if you're an American who's sick. No doubt about it.
Can we get into what you're...
Can we do this? Just a little sample of what we're going to be watching on Saturday. Some of that shit there. Let me get into... Let's find a good one. Yeah, I just want to hear this album again, man. This shit's a fucking bumping. We just got one more and then we're done here. But real quick, you know, 4 months after getting sick with COVID, Annie Helios Dautel. Why do people have such hard names? I suck at names. I couldn't eat anything at all. I just wanted to vomit. I was gagging at everything around me, she said. So I guess these people don't matter to Sagar. Right. And and we're just going to live with it. We're just going to live with it. Everyone's going to get COVID anyway. Give up. We can't, you know, we just can't do it. Right. People don't have issues with they have issues with capitalism, buddy. Okay. Capitalism is the root cause of most of the suffering happening in America. For-profit healthcare, wage degradation, total lack of unions, allowing companies to exploit us. Capitalism is at the heart of all that. And to deny it is not doing capitalism any favors. Okay, you're not going to save capitalism by trying to convince everybody, by trying to shine a fucking turd. Okay, does that mean it needs to be replaced? I don't think so. But you know, if you want to keep enjoying the splendor of capitalism, the positives of capitalism, you better start talking about regulation. Because the solution is not to completely deregulate capitalism and allow us to rape us with a fucking spiked dildo. That is clearly not the fucking answer either. They have issues with the scope of capitalism. Remove enough necessities away from capitalism and people would be fine. I compare capitalism to a raging beast that is incredibly powerful. And if we put it in chains, aka regulation, we can utilize that power to the benefit of mankind. But if we allow that beast to convince us to take it off its chains, it will brutally rape us and exploit us. I came up with a perfect slime economy, the currency slime. Yeah. You kids in your vernacular, you and your slimes. The fuck does that even mean? Talking about based and slimes and shit. I can't keep up with you. I'm a 30-year-old and I'm already a boomer to you fucking weirdos. I don't think Trump was pro-regulation. Veldrain. Last time I checked, Trump did everything in his power to deregulate capitalism. Passed major tax cuts. Yeah, okay, Queerty. A lot of logic to it. Oh, I'm saying. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I'm sorry. I don't mean to push back that hard, Veldrain. You're clearly trying to make a point. I get you. Yeah. No, Trump would love that. Yeah, he'd be down for that. Down for that shit. But you know, without reading the whole article here, and if you want to read it yourself, I do encourage you to do so. I know we can't talk about anything for more than 5 seconds before we got to move on. I know it's go. I know. But it is pretty disingenuous for Saagar to do his I'm in a penal colony, I'm being held hostage shtick and not even mention long COVID. And also he's just he's a doomer fatalist when it comes to COVID. We give up. We've tried for 2 years. I'm sick and tired of wearing a mask at Starbucks. So everyone just give up. Get the vaccination or die. For a while it tasted really funky. Yeah. Say what you like about Trump the Orange Clown. Didn't start any new wars. He wanted to. And the only thing holding him back was, frankly, the military apparatus that frighteningly didn't listen to the commander-in-chief. I'm happy that wars weren't started, but I'm also concerned with a military that doesn't respect the chain of command. Kind of a double-edged sword. But I'm not going to sit here and give Trump credit for wars that he didn't start when he wanted to start wars. Just because his incompetence and the people around him were so like disgusted with him that they didn't even listen to him. Is the worst from what I hear. My cousin's girlfriend had COVID before Christmas 2 years ago, and she had problems eating certain foods because it tastes awful and her sense of smell has been off. Yeah. You know, I trust science. I do. That's the only thing. It's the only thing I got left. Okay. I'm not a religious person. I'm agnostic technically. My official religion is quantum mechanics. Okay. I am a man of science. With that said, Saagar was being pretty fucking disingenuous, talking about how he's in a penal colony being held hostage, and we're not even going to mention long COVID even once, which is a reality. Okay. Some people get it for a few months. Some people get it for a long fucking time. I got lucky. My COVID lasted 1 day. That's just factually inaccurate. I'm happy that you didn't have major symptoms though. Let's read a couple paragraphs from this. 4 months after getting sick with COVID, Annie, name I can't pronounce, couldn't eat anything at all. I just wanted to vomit. I was gagging at everything around me, she said. I couldn't even stand my own smell. Ooh, wow. I was showering 5 times a day. Yikes. Coffee, toothpaste, shampoo, and roast meat were the worst. By the time she went to a hospital, she weighed just 46K. Boy, send her some Soylent. Well, I mean the bad bit. I see. Well, I'm glad you recovered, Queerty, so that you can be alive and annoy the shit out of me today. It's very nice. By the way, thank you everybody for sticking around, including over there, Mammoth Waffle. Sticking around for longer than 5 minutes. It is greatly appreciated. Props. Talking props over here. Thank you for getting me to 100 messages. Severe loss and kidney failure are some of the impacts of smell and taste distortions which leave people unable to eat or drink things they loved, like coffee or bacon, because they smell like rotting flesh or sewage. Yikes. So, but it's over, guys. I'm sick and tired of wearing a mask when I go to a baseball game, so fuck it. You either get the vaccine or die. I don't care anymore. I don't know which is worth, getting COVID or pushing a vaccine that doesn't work. The vaccines work. The vaccines absolutely work. I can't believe I got to show this again, but here we go. She claims things taste like iodine or metals. Terrible. You know how stupid people who say the vaccine doesn't work look? They look like this conservative meme on our conservative memes over here. We haven't cured the common cold. You can get the vaccine for the flu and still get the flu. Okay? Nothing has changed. But now all of a sudden the bar is higher. Now everyone's expecting a COVID cure. When has medical science created a cure for anything? I'm waiting. So let's not be stupid here. Okay, let's not be dumb, and let's not pull our opinions from our conservative memes. The loss of taste and smell was identified as a COVID symptom very early in the pandemic, and there is growing evidence that a substantial number of people go on to develop long-term distortions of their senses. Oh, let's give up though, guys. I don't like wearing a mask. You know, fuck it. Everyone's gonna get it anyway. Let's give up. Greatest species in the universe. You know, we took care. We kicked polio's ass. You know, Spanish flu, kicked it to the curb. No, COVID, I just give up. 2 years later, I give up. It doesn't sit well with me. It just doesn't. With that said, you know, boosters for children. You know, it's the CDC does appear to be, you know, if Sagar's, you know, opinion is to be believed, CDC is hiding some of this data. The WHO is saying, you know, the World Health Organization saying, yeah, there's not enough data to support that, you know, we should be vaccinating 5-year-olds with boosters. Since Rachel Maddow said repeatedly that getting the vaccine prevented transmission, it stops you getting sicker, not transmission. Yeah, we don't need to listen to fucking Rachel Maddow, that's for sure. Science created occurs since there's no means of profit for treatment. It definitely needs to be treated immediately. When has the medical science created a cure? Question mark. Since there is no means of profit from treatment? No, the point is that medical science hasn't created a cure for anything. Because that's not how it works. This isn't fucking, you know, Harry Potter. Okay? You immunize yourself to catalyze your immune system so that it can fight viruses like it would naturally. That's how it's worked since time immemorial. That's how we beat polio. That's how we beat the fucking Spanish flu. That's how we beat the fucking bird flu. Vaccinations, immunizations. Okay? The vaccines work. Take that horse shit out of my fucking stream. Absent a UK-based support group for people with taste and smell disorders. Holy shit. There's a whole support group now. Occupied a tiny niche before the pandemic with 1,500 members. Wow. Now it has 76,000 people worldwide. Ah, fuck them. I don't want to wear a mask anymore. COVID's over, guys. Fuck it. Old people with comorbidities are going to die anyway. Ugh. Now, is 76,000 out of a, you know, several hundred million justifiable, you know, reason to shut down society at the level that we had pre-vaccine? I don't think so. But it does seem like we're just sweeping these people to the side with the we give up attitude. Scientists at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden last week published a study that found nearly half of the infected people it studied in the first wave had experienced distorted smell, a condition known as parasmia? Parasmia? A third, it kind of sounds like a Disney villain. A third were less able to detect smells, according to preprint, which has not yet been peer reviewed. And that's important. You know, when we're referencing science, we definitely want to reference peer reviewed science. But I mean, this is this is pretty convincing data right here, you know, that 76,000 people are, I mean, they're having such issues, you know, after COVID, you know, not just 3 or 4 months, but they're having issues that they're joining a fucking support group, you know, because everything they taste tastes like shit. There's got to be at least one person on this planet that's totally digging that. It's disgusting, but we know it's true. All right, so you can go ahead and finish the article if you want. Last thing I wanted to show here is the fact that Toronto is shifting to living with COVID-19 like it does with the flu. They're giving up. They're giving up. I don't like this. We're hoping and praying. We're hoping and praying that Omicron is the end and just going to get, you know, weaker and weaker after Omicron. Because that's what viruses do, right? When they mutate, they always mutate to be weaker. Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes that's not sometimes that's not the case. It's going to be okay. Like here. Like in America, right? With that said, okay, if the science, that doesn't mean we should just keep these restrictions up forever. I know I'm sounding like a broken record here. That doesn't mean we should keep these restrictions up forever. And you know, and not trust science. If as the science is saying, yeah, okay, things are getting better, we need to remove this restrictions. Osmia is the common pronunciation. Oh, damn, this Mammoth dude is fucking smart as shit. You're too good for the stream, dude. Isn't there like, it's probably some better stream you could probably hang out at. I'm sure Hassan's playing some Grand Theft Auto roleplay, huh? Why don't you tune into Vosh so we can justify some more lolicon? Fucking time waste, lip flapping jerk offs, taking all my precious viewers. Clearly, I'm not jealous. Toronto is moving from trying to eradicate COVID-19 to learning to live with the virus while minimizing its negative impacts, just as we do every year with influenza, says Public Health Chief Dr. Eileen de Villa. Let's be clear, okay, to all the Americans out here that want to use this data to justify removing restrictions in the United States. You get sick in Canada, you walk into the hospital, all they need is your fucking name. You know, but they would prefer you to have your medical card that every citizen gets, right? There's a number on there. They don't even need that. They get your name, they take care of you, and then you walk the fuck out when you feel better. There's no bills, there's no papers to sign. You're just good to go. Okay? Now tell me what your experience would be like in the United States. I can call an ambulance. I can stub my fucking toe, call an ambulance and go to the hospital and not receive a $5,000 bill in the mail. Because of that ambulance trip. Tell me you can do that in the United States. I don't think you can. Welcome back, Rob. It's good to see you. Motherfucking Bill Nye Science Guy over here. Hey, you got some competition, homie. You got some competition over here with Mammoth Waffle there, Rob. Oh, yeah. He's a bit of a science guy. Even knows how to properly pronounce parosmia. Get it, boy. She told reporters at a Friday briefing that public health officials around the world are concluding that given how many people are being infected with COVID-19's Omicron variant, a COVID zero strategy no longer makes sense. Well, the WHO has come out and said that is silly to think that. And frankly, just from my own gut, from my own, you know, and that's not peer reviewed, okay? I just hate the idea that we're just giving up. What if we had this attitude with polio? Oh, it's okay. Less than 10% of Americans got polio or whatever stat it was. Meh. My middle school science teacher claimed she was Bill Nye's sister, which I thought was fucking, that is cool. Bill Nye's legit. Bill Nye's legit. So was that other kid scientist dude. What was his name? He had a rat companion. Oh, Beekman. Beekman's World. I need to get Beekman's World on this shit too. That was the one that I watched. I did some paper mache because it's a Beekman World's episode. Man, good times. Beekman's World, yo. Bill Nye the Science Guy. What happened to those? What happened to those fucking cartoons? We watch Bill Nye and Magic School Bus all the time. Yo, Magic School Bus, man. The most psycho fucking teacher on the planet. No, let's go ahead and take your kids, shrink them down to the micro cell level, and inject them into a fellow student. Great idea, Frizzle. So I'm signing this parental consent form, right? There were consent forms to any of this? Nope. Hey, let's go to the prehistoric era. I don't know, Miss Frizzle. I don't know about that one, dog. Does this bus have guns? People are talking about eventually getting to a point where COVID is more endemic. It's part and parcel of our background. You see some flare-ups over time that will strain the health system and kill some people, she said. Oh, well, here's the thing, though. Do you want to live in the minority report? Okay, it is not possible to keep everybody 100% safe 100% of the time. If you want to live in a free society, I don't want a nanny state. But at the same time, just saying, well, all the people that die of COVID have comorbidities. That's fucked up. Here in Switzerland, finally, they're starting to reduce the measures against COVID. No more home office since yesterday. And you're happy about that? You want to go back to the office. With that said, some people do. I actually go into my office and work because I can focus there. All right. I mean, I can't sit here like a hypocrite and say that, you know, hopefully, though, moving forward, people have the option if they want to stay home. Not just because of COVID, but, you know, for a myriad of other factors, okay? The whole idea that you need to spend 8 hours of your fucking day in an office every day to make your manager happy so that he feels like he's doing his job was bullshit. We all knew it was bullshit. So I need customers because I'm a consultant. All right, you know, fair enough. You know, I don't even need to be at the office. I like to be there because I can focus. I'm surrounded by video games here at home. So South Africa was the first country to get Omicron COVID dose and not even make it to the front page on a website now. Check it. Yeah, no, I mean, that's, you know, that, and the for-profit healthcare system's to blame there. You know, we should be dropping COVID vaccines like we drop bombs on illiterate people in Afghanistan or Iraq or Pakistan or Syria or whatever country we're bombing today. Right? How come, you know, we can't drop a couple vaccines on people? And we're not. Why? Because of dough, because of money. Let's admit it. That suffering will be minimized with vaccinations, masking, distancing, and ventilation, said Davila, adding that learning to live with COVID can be seen as akin to something along the lines of how we manage influenza on a yearly basis. No, it's not like I was bitching about influenza and the flu, like us not being influenza free as a society in 2019. Interestingly enough, those bombs cost more than vaccines too. It makes no logical sense. It really doesn't. No, it doesn't. And you know who has all the power? Who's going to lose this fucking election in 2024? Joe fucking Biden. Okay, he has all the power in the world to temporarily make the vaccines available to everybody so they can manufacture their own. And he doesn't. Why? Because his party receives hundreds of millions of dollars in pharmaceutical donations every single year. Let's be real. It's the pharmaceutical lobbyists that are doing this. Biden failed. I do agree. The decision is he doesn't have to wait for a vote. He doesn't have to ask a parliamentarian. He doesn't have to suck Joe Manchin's dick. He could just say, nope. Temporarily, these COVID vaccines are no longer copywritten or whatever the fuck. Go nuts. When natural immunity means nothing, but it does mean something in other countries, then it's a sign of authoritarianism over being humanitarian. Oh yeah, you're a freedom fighter, buddy. I do agree that we need to listen to the science, okay? But I'm extremely hesitant to fall into this right-wing trap of associating science with politics. Okay, Veldrain. Natural immunity. Look at you, dude. Get the fuck out of here, man. Enjoy your time out with your fucking right-wing bullshit. Had enough. I'm ending the stream anyway, so you can end it in the fucking closet. In the closet. Get the fuck out of my face. The science $sign. How fucking flippant. Okay? Can we have a little bit more nuance, huh? This isn't hit that chucklehead, what the fuck's his name? God, I've erased him from my mind so completely I can't even reference him. He's that idiot right-wing comedian, Crowder. Right? I feel like that's some shit you'd see in Crowder's fucking YouTube channel. Oh, this science $sign. Fuck that. Okay? We can talk about the capitalistic pharmaceutical companies without disparaging science in general. Okay, what all science is motivated by a profit motive? No, absolutely not. I'm not going to deny though that this shit is complicated. Okay, and trying to inject nuance into this topic is extremely difficult because of people and their political beliefs hanging. You know, it's their latest political feather in their cap. I'm anti-vax. I'm a pureblood. Fuck off. Science $sign. Fuck off. You're not doing anyone any favors. You don't look cool. You don't sound cool. You look like a fucking moron, equating all science to be biased for, you know, for a profit motive. That just completely removes all the fucking nuance from the discussion. And I despise that. I despise that. Garbage Fuel Award of the day is going to go to Mammoth Waffle. Motherfucking Mammoth Waffle over here. Legit. Thank you so much. Garbage Fuel, number one drink mix company in the world. Made from 100% garbage juice. Totally organic. We think. Okay? Ignore the lawsuits. It's Garbage Fuel all the way. Ignore Rob. Look, just because you drank some and then you were one of the ones in the lawsuit. Oh, class action lawsuit. Oh, what do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about, but no. Mammoth Waffle. True, you know. Thank you. Thank you for not talking about farts all stream. God, I appreciate it. God, this is why I hang out in politics. This is why I'm not in just jerking off, okay, with the actual jerk-offs. Okay, this is why we're in politics, because we're talking the real shit. We're not talking that bunk ass. What's the right wing up to? What you know? Did Ben Shapiro itch his fucking crack? Nonsense. We're talking about the real shit. That's why we're here, because we're sick of the bullshit. We're trying to keep it real. Trying to keep it so goddamn real. So thank you, Mammoth Waffle. Big props to Rob for coming back. I'm not giving you props, Veldrain, but thank you for participating in the stream regardless. No props, though. Bulletproof Baldy, big fucking props. Thank you for coming back. Hopefully I can give you that Garbage Fuel Award next time. Mammoth Waffle really impressed me today, though, so he's going to get that Garbage Fuel Award of the day. Big fucking props. No one. Oh, Queerty. All right. Props to you, Queerty. Thank you, Queerty. Where's my fucking stream deck? Yeah. Good job, Stream Deck. No, props to Queerty and big props to OG motherfucking Lee. True OG. He had to go to bed. It's his bedtime. Props to Curry12 as well. Thank you for coming in. We'll do this again. You know we're going to do this again. Even though it's detrimental to my mental health, we're doing this again. Thank you. Peace in that motherfucking Middle East. And, you know, try to inject nuance into these topics so that we don't get saturated with bullshit, right? Because creating political change is a 3-step program. I say this every stream. It's a 3-step program to create political change. Step 1, inform yourself. Step 2, join a political progressive organization in your area. And step 3, put in the motherfucking work. Stay angry. You should be angry. Fascists are telling you what to read. Fascists are telling you what the fuck. You want Lindsey Graham up in your fucking bedroom? I didn't think so. Tell Medicine Cawthorn to suck your dick. Or clit. Or whatever you got. You got a dragon dick? That's awesome. Tell him to suck it. Alright? Fuck fascism. Alright? Non-violent, direct political action is our fucking chance to create change, and you should be part of it. Thank you so much for coming by. Peace in that motherfucking Middle East. Stay angry and tell the next fascist fuck you when you see him. Peace out.